Welcome everybody to the Genesis Mindset. So today's episode, going to be talking about the PRC20s and obviously going to be starting with pDAI. So the pDAI spaces today that Zach had, it had over 60,000 listeners. My mind was blown by this, to be honest. As I was in the spaces and talking in the spaces, there was 1,200 listeners max that I saw, but in the end, it had about 60,000 listeners. So people coming in and out. That's huge. So 60,000 is absolutely huge for something on Pulsechain. Those numbers are insane. So for anyone who thinks pDAI isn't bringing eyeballs to the chain, well, you might be right, but it's at least bringing ears to the chain, right? So definitely, it's by far the greatest narrative on Pulsechain, and it is leading the way for the PRC20s, the world's largest free airdrop. So Richard has continued to post about some of these tokens and done so again. And so today I'm going to go over the process for how I might find a PRC20 to take control of and become a custodian of. So with that, thank you for joining, everyone. Let's get into the episode. All right. Oh, cool. Some new people in here. So Okaratne, what's going on? Good morning. Good morning, Andrew. Space Auctions. Never seen you in here, man. History in the making. If you're here, you made it. Nice. What's going on, Alex? Another day, another amazing live. Thank you very much, my friends. So, okay. First, Richard did a couple of these kinds of tweets, but I'm just going to go over one today. So he's never done one like this before. So a screenshot you've never seen here before. So 56.8% on PRV, 32% on Wrap Bitcoin, 32% on pDAI, 31, 32, Ape, Mana 17%, Balance, Yearn Finance, Lido, Sand. Wow. Okay. I'll tell you what. Yeah, Sand. I might go over the process of one of these. I might go over the process of Mana, actually. I was going to go over the process with Axis, but I might do it with Mana. Actually, I'll do both. I'll do both. I'll do both. I'll show you this process. So Crow, Comp, with PaxG, Cream 0%. I don't know why he showed that one when it's 0%. What is that? That's going to be Go Pulse. I should have actually brought that website up as well, shouldn't I? Go Pulse. I'll bring that website up as well, and I'll get back into it. So that was Richard's tweeting about this. So that's nearly 200,000 eyeballs. And then obviously he also showed the Pulsechain tickers, Hex, Inc, PulseX. These coins are free for millions of Ethereum and ERC20 folks, by the way. So he has recently gone on a massive, I suppose you could say a massive tweet storm related to these PRC20s. Also, I want to show, all my private conversations. Shouldn't show that, should I? Bugger. What's the website? Let me bring up the website. This one here. So I did a tweet about this today, but I'll just bring it up as well. So this is something that I like to look at, to keep my mind on, keep my eyes on every so often, just to see where the liquidity flows are going, because I suppose that's one of the things that I follow the most, liquidity flows, because that's the thing that I follow with the Atropa ecosystem. That's the thing that I follow. Oh, March 20. Oh, shit. Oh, that's embarrassing. Holy crap. I think I did the wrong bloody... okay. Thankfully, I don't know if I ended up doing this in the tweet. I hope I did this in the tweet. I think in the tweet I did the one that was a 20th, but it's still basically showing the same thing. Pulsechain's still not here. So obviously in the last 7 days, there was the Trump token. So if we had gone maybe a few days ago, everything was going to Solana. I think, what day was a Trump token launch? So for example, if we just go today, so if you look at the liquidity flows, so this is basically assets that are being bridged from blockchain to blockchain. So obviously here is left, and then from and to. So what day was a Trump? So Trump token, I think, was what, the 18th or 19th or something maybe. Let's have a look. So yeah, here we go. So 18th, look at all this liquidity inflow to Solana from Ethereum, Arbitrum, and then probably also the next day as well. I would say so, probably on the 19th as well. Okay, so 18th to 19th, and then obviously now it's now started to flow back out to the rest of the blockchain. So yeah, I guess the reason why I'm showing this is obviously everyone's sort of afraid, like, oh, Solana. I mean, and obviously Solana's got nothing to offer. People will go there because it's the hottest place to get the meme coins, but we want Ethereum to pump for the benefit of Pulsechain. So it's good to see now that liquidity is flowing back out of Solana into Ethereum and Arbitrum. So Arbitrum connected to Ethereum is, or Arbitrum, I think, is a layer 2. I should know this, but I'm pretty sure Arbitrum is a layer 2. So 4 million that's flowed out to Ethereum, 2 million, but still there's still a decent amount flowing into Solana. So have a look at this. This space is here. I'll share this tweet in the chat. I should have shared it in the description actually. And actually, as a matter of fact, I might actually put it in the description now before I forget. I'm going to put this in the description. So pDAI spaces. So when you get, if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see the link there for the pDAI spaces. And yeah, the main thing that I wanted to show there, or 50, it was 59, but it ended up getting up to 60K. So there was another tweet from Freedom77, 60K, 60K views. That's insanity. That's insanity. 60,000 people tuned in to this DAI to $1 on Pulsechain. So people are paying attention. That's the important thing, because there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like the narrative of something that's pumped tens of thousands of X's already from 0 to, what is it now, 1.8 cents? And it's headed to $1. There is no meme coin like it. Whether you consider it a meme coin or whether you consider it to have utility, it's actually a mix of both. That's what makes it so amazing. One of the things that, like I think Freedom77 said it today, was this whole mystery around the pDAI and the Atropa. It's like Satoshi Nakamoto. It's like the early days of Bitcoin. It's like this massive mystery. And so this pDAI thing, is it true? Who's behind it? Is it going to get to $1? But it has a fixed target with the potential to stay stable to $1. That's what makes it so incredibly unique. And people are obviously paying attention. David Sachs, now the crypto czar, has basically come out and said, with the new executive order, no CBDCs. So there's not going to be any CBDCs in America. So that's absolutely bullish for stablecoin narratives. And they want to promote stablecoins. So this cycle is very much going to be about stablecoins. So Richard Hart, he's just been ahead of the game. So Zaki Boo says, thank you for all coming to the pDAI to $1 spaces. Almost 60,000. DAI and Pulsechain, as we call it, is the greatest narrative in all of modern day cryptocurrency. I agree. Zach doesn't even have any pDAI and he held this spaces. This is how good this narrative is. So having it come to fruition on Pulsechain means we can take true custody of our stablecoins instead of allowing the government and companies like USDT and USDC to take away your assets for any reason. Somebody in the spaces today suggested that you can basically monitor on Ethereum when people's wallets are being locked by these companies, and you can go to those tweets and start, maybe don't like shill it, I suppose shill it, but in a professional kind of a way. Let them know that those things can't happen on Pulsechain. So even DAI and Ethereum is now rebranded as Sky. You can trade in your DAI for new USDS. They now implemented a freeze function into their protocol. So this is not possible on Pulsechain, the People's Chain, the Freedom Chain. With pDAI, you're protected from government or corporate overreach pending its evolution into a true stablecoin. Below is the link to the recording. Please listen, share so many people can hear what's going on. We can get all types of topics in Pulsechain in general, as well as pDAI and Atropa. So I'll also repost this. So it was a really, really, really good space. So I would strongly recommend. So whether that's all just people from Pulsechain or not, or whether that's even people from outside of Pulsechain, because there will be people outside of Pulsechain that will see that popping up on the side. So just like this, ETF crypto 24/7, because I'm following someone who is listening to this, it's popping up. So this is how it's going to be popping up on people's radars. So even just seeing this on the side is getting eyeballs on it. So Twitter or X, whatever it's called, is the place to be spreading this kind of information. So just very quickly, I want to change my background to something hella sweet. So that's not hella sweet. It's probably better like this. Anyway, getting a bit too pedantic. So all right, so it's the hottest narrative. I think it's very much self-evident. So I don't have a best PRC20 to get into now. I guess pDAI. I mean, for me, that's like, it's got the whole narrative behind it, but you could pick any one of these. So the other really beautiful thing about this whole PRC20 narrative and this whole, like, just the whole Pulsechain narrative and the whole crypto executive order, freedom of speech, freedom of movement in the Constitution, the American Constitution, is literally inscribed into this blockchain. That's what's so beautiful about this blockchain. So Richard Hart always one step ahead. So old people here, but other accounts in use. What's up, Stephen? Hope all is well, brother. We are always chasing liquidity flows. This is the way. I agree, man. I think liquidity flows, for me, is where it's at. Liquidity flows is where it's at in the global financial system. You want to know, essentially, that's all it does. Like, this asset class tops, and then it flows into another asset class. That will top, then it flows into another asset class. Like, it's not that simplified, but basically that's sort of what it really boils down to. So shout out to the DGens in the live chat. So Gold Rush incoming. Yes, this is the Gold Rush because there is an abundance of opportunity. So we'll go into those opportunities in just a moment. Trump token was a look here, but he bought a ton of ETH at the same time. Exactly. He dumped it and then bridged over to ETH, which is really, really bullish, obviously. All right. So yeah, this is also an amazing narrative as well, the HotX narrative. So, okay. So let's obviously just do a very quick overview on the whole market at the minute. So yeah, today was probably more of a sideways. Nothing big today. Minus 0.21%. So we haven't actually had a rise today. This because I've got these on three-day candles. The Atropa ecosystem has also stayed stagnant, so it needs to kind of break out of this. This is to the US dollar, and pDAI exactly the same. Oh, actually no. Whoopsies. This was DAI. This was I've swapped all of this around. So because this is Heiken-Ashi, the only difference is today is obviously now we're seeing a continued confirmation of this. So this is a Heiken-Ashi. So obviously for me, this is very much confirmed that we're now in the bull market for the Atropa ecosystem, which is bull market for pDAI, which is inevitably going to lead to the bull market for the rest of the PRC20s. So in terms of finding a PRC20, so unfortunately, I'm going to have to, this particular list, something's bugged out with this list. It used to be extremely comprehensive. Now there's only 31 tokens on here. So I'm going to have to reach out to Pulsecoin list because, yeah, this unfortunately is not showing all of the tokens. So, but basically based on this Richard Hart tweet, I'm going to go with Mana, and I'm going to do a liquidity exploration into Mana. But we'll just quickly check on here. Is there because it looks like this is, it looks like this website. Okay, so where's Forked? Is there anywhere that we can look on here so coins, mint, fame, bubbles? Maybe if I go to bubbles. And then is there any option that I can go to Forked? I mean, this is good. This is good to see. So Lido. Yeah, Balancer. Oh, so that's Ethereum. So Steth, Crow. So how do we bugger? Does anyone know? Maybe it's here. Trading tools. I'll have a look here. Damn it. How do we get to look at the forked? Maybe if I just type forked here, let's have a look. Because it looks like Richard's basically, it says forked here, right? And this looks like Go Pulse. Pulse locked up across PulseX, liquidity, leagues, see, activity. Maybe it's in activity. I would have expected it would have been on. I would have expected it would have been somewhere in coins. Compare stable coins, the latest trends from the ecosystem. No. Okay. Damn. I don't know how we found it. Does anyone know? Forked is at the bottom of the main Go Pulse page. Okay. All right, let's have a look. So the main Go Pulse page. So let's have a look. New here. Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Popular coins, bridge, meme coins, stable coins. I see. Okay, so this is just showing like there isn't anywhere that I can actually go to see all the forked coins. That would be really good if GoPulse could do that. I mean, yeah, I guess I could filter everything by P something. What's the list of? Okay, so they've got. Okay. Anyway, at least that's something to keep an eye on for the PRC20s. But obviously, by the time it's made it onto this list, you probably might be kind of a little bit late in some instances. So obviously, with some of these pumps. But okay, how can we anticipate some of these pumps? So good morning, Diversify. PRVs, purpose and parity with ETH RV. So VKH, I can only speculate. It doesn't, I wouldn't say that it replaces the Ethereum RV, but if we look at basically the code got forked as well. So all it really requires is someone to, in the same way that what they're doing with PMaker, all it really requires is for somebody to basically take the code that's been forked over and start to implement it onto Pulsechain. I don't know this, excuse me, I don't know the specifics of that. I don't know if it's like completely possible with PRV, but I would suspect that it probably is if they can do it with PMaker. I'm sure it's not going to be as simple as, yeah, because I'm not a coder, I'm not 100% sure, but obviously with PRV pumping, it's a marketing tool. It's a marketing tool. So everyone who currently has tokens, who currently has RV on Ethereum, and they have forked copies on here, that's going to be a calling card for them on Pulsechain. So it's really a marketing tool, but I do believe that it can be built out in the same way that, say, PMaker can be built out. So exactly, Hexologist Heart, they would need to make a front end for it. Exactly. So all the fork copies can have a front end. So all the code is here, it can work, but they just need a front end. So all right, so now unfortunately this list is a bit poo-pooed, so it's supposed to show a lot more than this, but let's just go with some of the GoPulse list. And so what I have done is I'll show you what I did, and then you follow your own process. So Metaverse and AI are two ecosystems that I want to pay attention to for the future. I believe that Metaverse is going to completely and totally eclipse cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence once it actually becomes like, I'm not talking about Mana and Sandbox, like they've taken the Metaverse narrative, and to some extent they are the Metaverse, yes, but I'm really talking about when Metaverse becomes closer to the form that it should be. So the way that I look at Metaverse now, it's more like maybe artificial intelligence, 30 years ago with the Turing experiment, and like the first computer that could start to analyze data. Like, is this artificial intelligence? It's like the first speculations on the possibility of artificial intelligence. I believe that's where we are with Metaverse. So eventually Metaverse, in my opinion, will totally eclipse all of this, because Metaverse is basically at the top of the pyramid. So to get to the Metaverse, we need cryptocurrency, we need artificial intelligence, we need all of these things to come together, and that will create the Metaverse, virtual reality, all of those things. So we're heading towards, obviously, an even more digital age. So I want to keep in tune with Metaverse. So what have I done? So all I do, so like on here, I'll go to, I'll just type in Metaverse. So this is an industry that I'm looking at. And on CoinGecko, it will show categories. So for example, I'll go to the categories, and then I just pick a list of the Metaverse tokens that I particularly like. And so I only pick things from like the top 200, because if you start to get, down to the 1000s and the 1600, like there's not going to be many eyeballs on that, right? We want things with lots of eyeballs. That's the thing that I will be looking for. So basically I took Sandbox, Floki, Axie Infinity, Mana, Engine Coin, and Illuvium. So then I've created a multi-charts with those for Metaverse. I've done the same with AI. So I've got an AI one. I've just picked all my favorite ones. And so obviously like Near Protocol, when it had this massive pump, I think Render also had like a massive, massive pump. And so obviously now they're starting to turn to the upside. They're starting to turn to the upside. When did these fully come to fruition? So have a look at these dates. 26th of November. 26th of November. 26th of November. 26th of November. So what happened on the 26th of November? Again, we're looking at liquidity flows here. What happened on the 26th of November? Where are we? What's going on here? Where's pDAI? So let's look at pDAI. 26th of November. Let's have a look. Look at this. 26th of November. What happened on the 26th of November? We had a top. We had, well, very close to the top for pDAI. And you know what? Holy shit, I just got another liquidity flow top indicator. Another one. Guys, oh man, these streams, I'm just like, that's another top indicator, right? Is it? Is it not another top indicator? So if I've got these charts here, let's just say hypothetically, so I've opened up Axie Infinity. Let's see if Axie Infinity did the same. Yeah, Axie Infinity did the same, 25th of November. So I've got this here. So this is just Axie Infinity. And I like Axie Infinity because Axie Infinity is basically dead on Ethereum. But I like it conceptually because it had a lot of Filipinos that were playing Axie Infinity. And what I love about Pulsechain is it's the freedom chain, it's the people's chain. We don't want rich people here. We do want them here eventually, but we want them to come and buy our bags after. I want the Filipinos who now can't make any money on Axie Infinity to realize, hang on a minute, I've got free money on Pulsechain. It might not be a lot. It might not be a lot of free money, but I've got $100 worth of tokens. These tokens on Axie Infinity, they used to be worth this much, and on Pulsechain, they're only worth this much. They're worth like pennies to the dollar or whatever, but they have something to begin with that they can start speculating and playing with on Pulsechain. That's what I'm interested in. That's why I chose Axie Infinity, for example. But I probably will go deeper into some of the ones that Richard tweeted about. So just in terms of finding a top, because this is not something that I was anticipating talking about, but you know, what the hell, because that's pretty wild. So if we see something like this, another gorgeous line, if we see something like this, well, it's not going to come all the way here. Whenever we break, let's make it more realistic, because I think things are going to start to get parabolic. I mean, if we're in a bull run now, I mean, we've been in a bull run for a while, but if things start to get really parabolic, I mean, this probably, I don't know, whatever, right? So if we start to break out, and it's June, heading towards the tax year. Well, it is in Australia. I don't know if it's in USA, but let's say this goes parabolic, broken all-time highs, and you see these parabolic candles. You might start going, all right, the market makers are starting to put this liquidity out into the PRC20s. I think it's going to be a pDAI top. I might start rotating my pDAI into some of these assets so I can become a custodian of some of these PRC20s, or putting it into stable coins so I can buy the dip, whatever that is, whatever you choose to do. So you play it how you want to play it. But let's actually look at one of the ones that Richard was talking about. So let's look at, let's look at Axie Infinity first, because I've got all the data open up here. So how would you actually become a custodian of Axie Infinity, and how would you go, or how would I go about looking at this? Okay, so first of all, Axie Infinity has only 2,800 in liquidity. So what I did, for example, with Axie Infinity, it's very, very simple. So I'll just show you the process. So it's very easy, very simple. So when you open up Axie Infinity, so here's how I made my multi-charts. I just copied and pasted the contract address here. I'm so happy that I got a new top indicator. I'm really, really happy because the confluence of indicators is what you want. Because I called the pDAI top on the day twice, but did nothing. I did nothing. I was too. My bags were too good, and I was too scared. I was like, well, what if I'm wrong? But when you get it twice, it's like when you get it once, it's like it could be a fluke, right? But if you get it twice, it's like, okay, now it's time to have conviction in my thesis. So the third time, but to be perfectly honest, by the time the third time comes around, it might be a little bit too late because we're in the parabolic season of the bull run, but there's still going to be pullbacks. So I copied and pasted the address. I would copy it into here. And then sometimes I would type WPLS, and then I would just go to the oldest chart. So here, Pulsechain, the oldest chart, it's V1. So then I'm going to explore the liquidity pools for Axie Infinity. So 2,800 in liquidity. It has not many liquidity pools. It's got with Pulsechain, L-Swing, Pulsechain, WB89. It's got access with the V2, Con, OXD, PulseX, DAI. So really nothing. I would imagine possibly this is pDAI. So therefore, if I liked Axie Infinity, or I wanted to be someone who grows this, or I'm a Filipino and I want to help Filipinos, then I could say, hey, Axie Infinity. So I'll look at this, 10,200 tokens in liquidity. What can I do to increase that number? The more that I increase the tokens in liquidity, the better it is. So there's a total of 270 million Axie tokens, which means not much is in liquidity. Really, not much at all is in liquidity. So you want to incentivize people to come and dump. Gosh damn it. Is it 270 million? So it's like less than 1%. So I think it's 0.3%, 0.37%. So less, that's really bad. You want to have more in liquidity. So obviously you want to start incentivizing. Like, this is where you become the custodian. This is where you do the work for yourself. You can be the one to make a website for it, make a Telegram for it, make a Twitter account for it, start promoting it on Twitter, start promoting it on YouTube, start going into the Axie Infinity Telegrams for Ethereum and start talking about it and start shilling it, because you want to get people dumping the tokens into liquidity. This doesn't look right. What is this? 122 million. So then I would also go to the block explorer and I would just start having a look around. So obviously this person here is a top holder. They have 12 million tokens. Maybe this is some sort of like, what is this? I don't really know what this is. Maybe this is some sort of protocol, staking protocol. If there's some sort of Axie Infinity staking protocol. Okay, Axie Infinity governance, Axie Infinity dog, smooth love potion. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the hell this is. So yeah, I don't really know. So this to me is like, maybe that's a bit difficult because I don't really know how to get those tokens out of that supply. So maybe you could say, all right, well, we'll scrap Axie Infinity, for example. But let's use Mana, because that was, yeah, Mana was up here. I'm happy about. I'm very happy about that. All right, so let's look at Mana. So where's Mana? So we take the Mana contract address, copy and paste. So now let's look at the Mana liquidity pools. I'll keep this open because just in case we want to do some comparative analysis. And then I'll open up Mana now as well. So the Pulsechain block explorer. This is what I would be doing. And we want to go to liquidity pools, Versal.app. Really the best website. I cannot believe that I spotted that as a top signal. Like, that's so, oh boy. Yeah, what a spot. What an amazing spot. I probably still won't sell the top, but it's amazing to be able to call it and get it right, and then other people can at least take. I'm in a chat where someone basically sold in the 3 cents for pDAI and they bought in the 1 cent, so they've like tripled their bags. That makes me very happy. Makes me very happy. Wow, look at this. Look at Mana. So Mana's really, really took off. But it was a gradual rise. So this is interesting because we're starting to see a gradual rise. So because we're really in the bull market as well, I mean, you look at this here. What did this do? What's the X's on this? Yep, 5X. I would expect it to. I mean, it's certainly going to break this. If pDAI breaks, then I would expect it to break this local top as well. Because I would expect basically people who have lots of pDAI probably also have some of these PRC20s and will cycle the liquidity into this, which is an extremely good idea if you believe in the pDAI narrative, because the liquidity web is going to do all the work for you. That's the real beauty of this. So I'll get into the liquidity web in just a moment because we want to actually find an example. So, okay, this is cool. This is better. So 11,000 in liquidity, 1 million tokens. Oh, beautiful. Nice even number. So we got DAI, we got Pulsechain DAI, Pulsechain A1A, L-Swing, TRSI, Mana, Monet Money, Aspire. Okay, so all these different kinds of tokens. All right, now let's have a look-see here. All right, so there's 2.1 billion, which means how much? What's the percentage in liquidity then? So we have 1 million in liquidity divided by this much. It's a very unusual number. Why? What is? Stop with all the. That is that right? Am I doing the calculations right to get the percentage? Maybe I'm not. Let me just. I don't like it when you got those E's because it always confuses the shit out of me. I really should know what the E's. I mean, I think the E's mean. I sort of know what they mean, but also kind of not really. So I'll just do this simply. So let's just do 1 million divided by 2.1 billion. Damn it. All right, so I'm just going to do 1,000 divided by 2.7 million because it'll end up being the same. Anyway, it's a tiny amount. I think it basically means it's like 0.47%, or is it 0.00047% in liquidity? I guess this is the way to verify it. So times 0.0000. Oh, damn it. Okay, yeah, so that's what it is. Okay, so yeah, it's like 0.00047% in liquidity. That's a really extremely tiny amount. So you want more liquidity in the liquidity pool. So now we go to look at the holders. So 0 holders. So obviously maybe this is because no one's actually moved any tokens around or something. So the top holder, holy shit, somebody owns 260 million tokens. Somebody owns 90 million, 80 million, so on and so forth. Okay, so this is okay. So there's a lot of holders here. So this is good. So it's better than this where there's all these contracts where you're like, well, how am I going to get the liquidity out of those pools? I have no idea. It doesn't mean that you should give up on this just because all that liquidity is that. This might actually be a bullish thing because this means that these tokens can't be sold. So you could take that as a bullish thing because you can't actually access those contracts. So that actually means the supply is like 270 million, but in actuality, there's really only ever going to be like this much, like deduct 122. So deduct like 200 million because you can never access that 200 million. So that you could actually consider that to be quite bullish. So, but let's continue down the journey with Mana. So now let's say Mana. I'm a Mana OG. I want to be the custodian of Mana. So how much is Mana at the minute? It's so cheap. It's 0.005. How much? What is it in Pulsechain terms? So, wow. So one mana is 102 Pulsechain. So how much is actually in liquidity? So if there's a million in liquidity, so let's do a million times 100. Well, I mean, yeah, a million times 100. So for 100 million Pulsechain, for example, you could buy all the mana, but you couldn't because the price is going to go up as you're buying. But basically, what you want to start to do then is you would start to buy up some mana, or if you have some mana of your own, and then you would start to bond it with other kinds of assets. I mean, look at this chart, man, far out. And it's already, I mean, you know, because now we're really in parabolic season. So it could just be like very much like this, for example. And then there'll be a pullback in May or something like this, whatever it's going to be. Okay, so now the FUD that surrounds it. So there's a lot of FUD that will surround it because, but the people will just come and dump the tokens, which is a fair argument because obviously there's less than 1% in liquidity, which means there's 99.9% of tokens that can dump into the pools. But that's a good thing. That's a really, really, really good thing. Let's just use some extreme examples here. So let's just say this person here, he's got 260 million and he's like, you know what? I heard about this thing and my 260 million mana tokens, man, Pulsechain sucks. I'm an Ethereum maxi, but these suckers, if I just dump my 260 million tokens, I'll just take my $10,000 and run. So actually, let's do the math on it now. Let's see what their value of their token is, what the value of their tokens is at the moment. So 260 million times 0.005362. Yeah, so the value of their mana at the moment is 1.3 million, but there's only 11,000 in liquidity. So they would just get destroyed with slippage and they'd only be able to extract out like, you know, thousands of dollars. They're obviously not going to be able to extract out millions of dollars because there isn't millions of dollars in the liquidity. But if they just go, you know what, screw it, I'll take the 10K and run and I'll just dump all my tokens, like free money. So what? Pulsechain sucks. Absolutely brilliant. There couldn't be anything more bullish than if they came and did that. Because what would happen then? What would happen then is this number here would spike. So there would then be 260 million tokens or 267 million tokens in liquidity, which means basically like 10% of the supply would be in liquidity. So the more of the tokens that go in liquidity, the better. So let's say somebody comes and dumps tokens here. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want. We want people to come and dump their tokens into here. There's two ways that this can go. There's basically two options. One, a person comes, dumps their tokens, and then runs with the liquidity. So they dump their tokens, and they take their money and they run. And they leave the blockchain. That's option one. Option two, the person sees... Let's get some eyeballs here. Can you do a search? Quick, give me some eyeballs. Nice. Yes, easy. Yes. The other option here is, so option one. So this is option one. Mr. GD McGeet, he comes in, he takes his money, and he runs. He goes back to his chain. He goes back to Ethereum. So ETH Jeet. So this is the ETH Jeet. And then this here is ETH LPer. So he's a liquidity provider. And he's like, you know what? Pulsechain's got some potential. I don't mind what I see over there. I am going to take my 260 million tokens and I'm actually going to start providing liquidity. And obviously, if he's got 260 million, if he's got this many tokens, 261 million tokens, He's not going to be poor. And so if the value of his tokens is 1.3 million, it doesn't mean he's going to bridge over $1.3 million of assets, but he might go, you know what? I'll bridge over $100,000 of my tokens and I'm going to start putting up, I might bridge over whatever, 100,000 DAI. And I'll start bonding that in liquidity with my mana. And I'm going to put my mana in liquidity, especially if he starts to learn about Hart's Law and liquidity webs. So there's two ways that this can go. Inevitably, it's going to dump. So the charts at the moment are going up and to the right because the blockchain is going up and to the right. So the whole blockchain is going up and to the right. So the charts are going up and to the right. This is going to continue to happen. If nobody ever buys, if nobody ever touches this, if nobody ever sells, one day in the very distant future, don't know when that could be, one day in the very distant future, they will reach parity. Just by nobody buying, just by liquidity bonding, simply by virtue of if somebody bridges over some mana tokens, some ETH mana tokens, and they bond ETH mana tokens with the Pulsechain mana tokens, then there's going to be arbitrage between the two. So eventually, with the liquidity web, it'll eventually get there one day in the very, 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 very long future. But what we want is for people to come and either sell, dump their tokens into the liquidity, or provide liquidity. One of the two. So both options is totally fine. There's not a negative to either, because obviously the ETH Jeets, the sooner they sell, the better, because they're just gonna, the sooner they sell, the better, because otherwise they can just extract more liquidity at a later time. But either way, it doesn't matter. So hopefully what you would hope for is basically you're going to continue to have a chart that goes up. We don't want a line like that. You're going to continue to have a chart that goes up and to the right like this. That's also a terrible line. So yeah, what are we in? January 26? Who knows if we're going to go to January 26? And then what's mana on 47.47? Wow, is that it? It's 47 cents. Boy, where is it at the moment? So obviously what 47 cents is, oh no, that's Axie Infinity. Oh jeez, what? Because that's on Pulsechain. Anyway, you get the gist, right? So it's not necessarily going to be something that's easy in terms of like finding something, but if you can find something, or if you have PRC20s where you have a big chunk of the supply, what could you do? So now let's ignore mana because I don't want to like convolute it too much. Let's take another what's another one that's up here? Let's take sand. Whatever. We'll take another metaverse one. So now, actually, you know what? I'll take Alluvium because I know Alluvium was in the sacrifice wallet. Alluvium is in like the top 20 tokens that were sacrificed for Pulsechain, which tells me that probably a lot of Pulsechain holders have a lot of Alluvium. I have someone who's following me on Twitter who is an Alluvium maxi, and he's got like 100,000 followers. DJ Sam Withers, really, really nice guy. So now Alluvium. Really, I can't remember why I was going to start a new one now, actually. So how could you, okay, so that's the scenario where people come and dump their tokens. So really it's kind of a waiting game. That's the thing. It's kind of a waiting game. You really have to wait for other people to put dump their tokens into your liquidity. That's how you become a custodian. So basically, to become a custodian, you want to dominate the liquidity. You want to be the one who has the most supply. And how do you have the most supply? By buying up the majority of the supply now. So if you like a token, you can either buy up all the supply now, and then so you can have the fattest liquidity pool. So if you believe in that particular token and you believe that that token has future life, then you having the biggest liquidity pool means that people are going to come into your liquidity pool to dump your tokens. So obviously You could just make liquidity pools with Pulsechain. They're usually the biggest ones. Obviously, that's the smartest option, just doing it with Pulsechain. And that's exactly what you want. So yeah, they're going to come and dump the token and they're going to take your Pulsechain, and that's going to suck. But what else can you do? So then you can start setting up a liquidity web. I might just stick with Mana actually, so it doesn't. So okay, so this is with Pulsechain, but obviously now this is also, it's getting dragged up with buys, but it's getting dragged up because it's liquidity bonded with other assets. So it's bonded with DAI, it's bonded with A1A. The fact that there's a V1 and a V2 provides an arbitrage opportunity between the two pulse chains. It's bonded with TRSI. This will be Mana. I would assume this is the yes. This this. Oh yes. Hang on a minute. That's confusing. So one of these will be the. So this is the. That's confusing me. So that's actually really confusing me. Because one of them will be Mana from ETH, but it should be that one. This one should be Mana from ETH. This one should be the PRC. But anyway, whatever. So then not only would you create a big liquidity pool with the biggest, to basically encourage people to dump their tokens into your liquidity pool, thereby growing your assets. Obviously, then you also want to start continuing to build out the liquidity web. So let's say you might start bonding it with Atropa, and you might start bonding it with I don't know, G-Baby, PTGC, UFO, X, what else? I mean, anything really. What did we see up there? Dick with butt. What else has been flying lately? I mean, wrapped Bitcoin. You might put more pDAI in there. You might go whatever, any number of tokens, right? So now, what are all these tokens going to be doing? As these tokens, the more liquidity that you're providing, as these tokens start to move up, because the whole chain is moving up. So as these tokens start to move up, even you might just start bonding them with other PRC20s. You might go, I might start bonding it with Sand and whatever, because they're all going to move up together. So all of that liquidity is also going to contribute to the pump. It's going to keep adding to the pump. So the more liquidity routes, the more arbitrage opportunities, the more thicker you can make the liquidity, it's going to contribute to the pump. So I'll tell you how and why exactly after I draw this cute little picture here, just to emphasize like all the power that goes into it. And let's make this one purple because it's a all right. Here we go. So we got person A and person B. All right. So look at that volume, man. So yeah, pay attention to these sorts of things. Look at the volume increase here. So people are already starting to do this now. They're already starting to like preempt some of these ideas, but it doesn't mean that it's too late. So, okay, now, why would you start to thicken up the liquidity? Because at the moment, there's 11,300 in liquidity, 11,351 in liquidity. As you start to add more liquidity, let's say you add more Pulsechain. Let's say you add... This is where it's kind of tricky. Because you can be the one that pumps it for a start. So you can actually pump it with your own liquidity. So for example, you could bond this to your Lao token and you could pump it with your Lao token. And as you're pumping it with your Lao token, all you're really doing is kind of like extracting liquidity out of all the tokens that your Lao token is bonded to and converting it into this. So you could do that. That could be one way that you do it. Or you could obviously just, let's say you got a bunch of TRSI and you go, all right, well, through this liquidity pool, I'm going to start pumping up mana with my TRSI. And so as you just keep pumping the token up and adding TRSI liquidity into this liquidity pool, then all these other liquidity pools are also going to get dragged up. They're going to get dragged up. And then the R bots are going to come and fill in the gaps and start realigning all the liquidity. And obviously, as you continue to do this, as you buy up the token, as other people dump into yours, as you keep thicking up the liquidity, as the whole chain moves up, this number is also going to rise up. So obviously, it's not just the mana value that's going up, it's all the liquidity pools that it's connected to. The value of those tokens is also going up. So yeah, I mean, if you're just one of these whales, then all it's going to take, I mean, let's say one of these big ass whales comes in and then just basically thickens up all of this liquidity and goes, I'm going to be a liquidity provider with my 63 million mana tokens. Then this really, really jumps. And again, the potential for it to go up faster is radically increased. The real key is we need people to dump their tokens into liquidity. And this process is going to happen like nature's flow. Everybody always thinks linearly. Everybody always thinks like, oh, when's my bags going to pump? I want pDAI to go to $1 tomorrow. I want my Lamborghini yesterday. This is how most people think, but this is not how the world works. This is not how nature flows. Everything happens steadily. It follows a particular order. So of these many wallet holders who are holding mana, probably maybe on the next pump, there might be like 2 or 3 people that take notice, and then 2 or 3 people dump liquidity into the pools. Fantastic. Because as those 2 or 3 people dump liquidity into the pools, then I can come and start adding more liquidity into these other pools. I can start buying up those tokens. Understand? So as the ETH pumps, dumps his tokens and it drops down here, then me with my TRSI, I can come in here and I can start pumping it back up with my TRSI. And then I'm adding TRSI to the pool and I'm supporting the price. And then I'm buying those mana tokens back. And then I'll add those mana tokens back into liquidity and thicken up the liquidity. And then again, same thing here. Maybe here we got, so this guy, the ETH LP, so he's the GOAT. So the ETH LP can stay up here. But along the way, it's going to be exactly the same. There'll be JEETs all the way along. But what I would anticipate is the JEETs, the size of the JEETs will increase over time. So in other words, here there might just be like 2 or 3 JEETs. And actually we should reflect that here. And then let's say here maybe like 5 or 6 JEETs. Maybe these guys are like, hey guys, I just made like $1,000 on Pulsechain. Lol. They tell their friends, they keep their eyes on the chart. So then ETH JEETs mates come along. And then another 10 people sell into this, or 20 people, or whatever. It'll grow progressionally. And then here, maybe now 100 JEETs come and sell their tokens, but this is all bullish. So people used to FUD the P-Stables narrative going, oh, well, people can just come along and dump their tokens. I mean, this is what KDP did when she did the USDC FUD. Oh, they just came in and dumped like 100,000 USDC. Absolutely mega bullish. Come and dump your tokens into our liquidity pools so we, through Hart's Law, can support that and bring it to parity. The more people who come and dump the tokens, the better. That's the alpha. That's the alpha that never clicked into my brain, that the dumping is actually good. It's actually good. And this was a lesson that only really clicked in my brain because of doing the Lao tokens. And so, yeah, that's how you can do it. Do it with your Lao tokens. Do it with your own liquidity web. Like, this is all it takes. If you want to become a custodian of a token, you can be the one to pump it. So if you have a lot of mana tokens and you've got a lot of mana tokens in liquidity, like let's say let's say like, I don't know, 20% of these tokens are yours in liquidity. Start pumping it up with your own bags. Start pumping it up. Start supporting the narrative. Start getting other people to dump into your token. It's not a bad thing. Make a website, make a Twitter account, make a Telegram group, promote it, do paid advertising. Lots of opportunities, lots of ideas, lots of concepts. Then, of course, who knows what Maria could start doing? Maria at the moment is obviously fixing his attention on eHex. So eHex is obviously not the airdrop, because the pHex has got all the attention, so he's doing the reverse. But he might decide one day, you know what? He might decide one day he wants to support the Pinoys, and he's going to start pumping Axie Infinity. So yeah, I'll leave it at that, and I'll just go through some of these comments. Can Peace Death ever reach parity? Seems impossible. Please have a look. Oh, gosh damn. See, again, only sometimes. I haven't been getting an issue notice for a while. So Peace Death, I do not know that, brother. Peace Death. What have I done? PSF. What have I done? Is that the correct one? I'm not too sure, man. So I guess all of these Ethereum, I mean, I don't see why not. What I will say is be careful of some of them, because basically just make sure you know what the contracts are, because some of them will be like minted versions, or like they can be perpetually minted or something like this. So be mindful of that with some of these like staked Ethereum copies. That's all I would say. That's all I would know. So Aave, Balancer, Curve are being controlled by the same wallet that has been controlling Maker, I believe. Nice. I did not know that. So Diversify, there you go. So yeah, the market maker, because those are the biggest protocols on Ethereum. So it makes a lot of sense to get eyeballs on the chain through those protocols. And it'll be exactly like this. It'll be exactly like this, just like we saw that USDC whale who dumped 100,000 or 100 million USDC tokens. Bullish. Come and dump it. Take $100,000 of liquidity. No problem. See you later. Those tokens are now in liquidity, so we can now support that price with our chain. It's this chain is all about liquidity. It's the liquidity game. So the more and more to learn about liquidity is the alpha. So Maria mentioned wrap Bitcoin being first to reach parity after Bitcoin hovers above 100K for a couple of days. Do you think we are close? And the PWBTC holders rotate profits into pDAI? VKH, that's a good question. I don't know, man. I'm not too sure. I don't know. It seems to be is wrapped Bitcoin up here. I mean, it seems to be right. Besides PRV, it's the second one on the list. It seems to definitely kind of lead the way. Even though pDAI has the biggest narrative, the wrapped Bitcoin seems to really lead the way. But I like the looks of both of them. And yeah, I guess you could rotate profits in between all of them. There's so many different ways to play it, man. And I guess you just have to decide on a way that is comfortable with you. But if you believe if you believe in pDAI heading to parity, then really like pDAI is just the tip of the iceberg. All of these PRC20s can reach parity. If pDAI gets to parity, then all of them can reach parity. That's what I believe. And so the way that you can easily start to do that is literally just taking some of your pDAI now and start bonding it with some of these PRC20s. What's going on, Cookie de Chocolata? All pDAI peak happen at the same time without the chance of believer rotation. Honestly, don't know, man. I honestly don't know. I wish I guess. Okay, so I guess what's your reason for wanting to know that? Is there any particular way that you want to play it? But yeah, I honestly don't know. At this rate, it kind of looks like the wrapped Bitcoin will be the first one at this rate. So what's going on, Mr. Rock Jockey? Glad you found that funny. The Jeets are everywhere, man. Sounds good. Just become the custodian of the pool. I never looked at it that way. Exactly, bro. And then imagine you're the biggest token holder of that, and then you become the main liquidity provider of that token. So if you can find the token which is going to have and this is okay, so that's what I would also look for, like what on Ethereum actually has volume flowing through it. So even though, oh yeah, it's in the top 100, it's in the top 200, like a lot of this is just like garbage. It's in the top 200, but it's not really doing anything. There's not really a lot of volume that flows through it. It's just kind of sitting up there. So for example, I mean, look at this. So here we go, Lido. So someone was, here we go. Maybe this one here that's old mate was asking for, Madman Crypto. It's on the Go Pulse forked coin list. So maybe it's this one here, the Steth. So yeah, 51 million volume flowing through it. I mean, that's not too bad, but it's pretty crap for a top 100. But then like this one here, this could be forked. This might be one to stay clear of. This one here, so Leo. Oh, it's in the top 25, but 357k volume. So you're probably not going to get a lot of volume flowing on Pulsechain. If there's no volume on Ethereum, then it's probably not going to come through Pulsechain. So if you can find a token that's got a lot of volume, and then you become the liquidity provider on Pulsechain, and then that volume is flowing through your liquidity pool, and you're the dominator of that liquidity pool, that's the way that I'm looking at it, as a passive yield thing for life. So my pleasure, bro. My absolute pleasure. So if you provide liquidity in a PRC20, say Link, and on Pulse, let's say it's 50 cents, you can buy a decent amount and pair it with Pulse. So when parity comes, the Link goes up in value, therefore giving you impermanent loss. I guess it really depends on how much volume flows through the pools as it heads on its way up. That's really the key. So I believe so too, Ram. Be nice to see more PRC20 copies paired up with its ETH counterparts on Pulsechain. That would propel a lot of these alt tokens. Exactly. So I guess the best kind of way to start it, because it's about arbitrage. So Hart's law and arbitrage. So Hart's law and arbitrage. The arbitrage is going to keep filling up the pools as the pools are starting to move. So if you think about, okay, arbitrage is when there's differences in pools. So how would I want to start this? So obviously I would want to start with Pulsechain, because that's the biggest token on the chain. Let's move away from. So I'd start with Pulsechain. I would also probably start with some form of stable coin, and I would start with the ERC20 counterpart. So I think this is like a really, really, really good starting point. So Pulsechain, some kind of stable coin, and the Ethereum counterpart. So why? Because Pulsechain is Pulsechain. It's the most liquid asset on the whole blockchain. A stable coin provides like it's stable. So that liquidity pool, the token that it's with, is always staying stable. So therefore, as this liquidity pool moves up and it pulls up that token, in this liquidity pool, the stable token is always staying stable. So then it's arbitrage between those two pools instantly. It's providing a point of friction. And then obviously with the ERC20, that's going to be moving on the opposite side. And then also a really good thing is V1 and V2. At the very least, V1 and V2 for Pulsechain, but I would probably do it with all of them, to be honest. V1 and V2, because you're just providing more points of arbitrage. So this would be like a good base. Starting with this as a base, and then really expanding out with your web. So then you can just be creative with whatever you want. Then I'd look at things with lots of volume flowing through them. PTGC, UFO, X, Atropa, pDAI, things that have a lot of volume flowing through them on Pulsechain is also going to push volume through your PRC20. So exactly, man. It would bring a lot of attention and liquidity from the ETH side. That's the game all along. It's the world's largest free airdrop. People have forgotten about this narrative. They've forgotten about this narrative. It's a real pity. It's a real pity. After seeing more of this, I know now I didn't buy enough Atropa. Bro, I feel ya. I feel you on that. I really, really feel you on that, man. I think everybody feels like this. Inverse impermanent is what you meant. Exactly. So permanent gains is what we like to call it. So when the copies go up, you will get inverse impermanent loss if you pair them now. So then you must be talking about impermanent or permanent gains. And you want to gain PLS. Exactly. Because people, I mean, at the start, people will dump their tokens into your pool. So they're going to be taking your Pulsechain out. But then as it kind of stabilizes and finds its equilibrium, then starts to get pulled up with the rest of the chain, the Pulsechain will flow back into the liquidity pool as well. And then, yeah, I guess you would have to be the one that also has to keep filling it up until it gets to a point where it reaches parity. And then people will just be flowing in and out of it and arbitraging between Ethereum and Pulsechain. I was just going over the BFF token. I'm so glad Stephen is streaming because everything is aligning for me concept-wise. Nice, man. I'm really glad. I've seen you in here a lot, AOKG. I followed you on Twitter as well. Thanks for following me. I see that you've done some like exceptionally talented videos as well. You were doing some gaming ones. I just had a very, very brief look, but I was like, man, you make some good videos. So yeah, like definitely consider making some content for Pulsechain once you start learning about this. So thanks, bro. Glad to see you in here. I don't think I've seen you in here before. All this dumping burns more PulseX also. Hexologist Heart, you got it, brother. Exactly. That's why any kind of trading that's happening on Pulsechain is bullish for PulseX. Appreciate that, man. Yes, so peace. So that's, yeah, the peace Steph. Yeah, that's the tricky part I'm stuck on. Is the contracts and the hook functions after the contract is renounced calls can still be made? I'm learning so much, but it's like a win or booby trap. That's the tricky part I'm stuck on. Is the contracts and the hook functions after the contract is renounced calls, can the calls still be made? This part I'm not too sure about. So obviously, I think all of it can be used. So I know, for example, Richard used to talk about with the P stable copies that they like the P, like Circle PUSDC, they could freeze the Pulsechain versions. So that's probably a really good point. You should probably also look into like admin keys and what can actually happen with those particular contracts as well, as to what might be risky for you or not. So some tokens don't have any motion, but then I don't know what Richard would do with these forked pairs. It's so many possibilities, but picking at least 3 of the best ones should be rewarding. I think so. Yeah, just pick some and go with it, man. That's what I would recommend. So what's going on, Crypto Elliot? When X and Ord stream. So there has been an X stream. When Ord stream, when Crypto Elliot stream with me for Ord. That's when Ord stream. I can't be bothered covering these things by myself all the time. I got too many things to cover, if I'm perfectly honest. So yeah, I'm happy to do it, but I just can't be bothered learning about it. So it's not easy learning about these things. I have to like put all this information together. I have to learn about it. It's been an extremely busy week for me as well. My center's been pumping. A whole bunch of new people have signed up. So yeah, I'm open from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. So it's not just it's not an easy thing to put these streams together. Maybe I make it seem simple because everything's kind of like well organized, but it takes time. So yeah, Ord, yeah, nothing against it. Ord sounds great. It's probably the same as all the others, Ord and X, and I don't know if it's got any like burn and buy functions in it, like with X and PTGC. But if it's just like it's liquidity bonded with tokens and there's a community behind it, then awesome. I would just categorize it as all the other stuff. There's nothing unique about it which I would be interested in talking about, unless, yeah, like I said, unless there's some interesting feature, then I'd be happy to look at it. But again, I'm waiting for people to tell me. You guys tell me if there's something interesting and unique, and I'll talk about it. So, what's up, Tin Top? Oh, thanks, man. You used to game, but I just want to chill and take notes from the great people like you. I appreciate the crypto community so much. I'm work now. Oh, nice, man. Yeah. And I mean, gaming and crypto, I believe that there's a place for that in the future. And I do know the gaming space is very like anti crypto, like pay as you play. They're very anti that. But I think in the future it's going to be an inevitability. So, yeah, exactly. The wrapped Bitcoin has admin keys also. So Richard Hard said that before, but it's highly unlikely they will get used maliciously. So exactly. So it'll be the same as all of this. So it's highly unlikely they'll get used maliciously. If like even from a business point of view, if this brings renewed energy to an essentially dead token on Ethereum and they have access to like Rugged or something like, why would they do that if it gives life to their project? It makes no sense from a business point of view. So I guess that's how I would look at it. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. So not too long tonight. So I hope everybody enjoyed this stream. Hopefully there was some good alpha on how you could build up a PRC20 and really emphasizing this concept of becoming a custodian. That's the idea that I'm thinking about. Like you become the primary liquidity provider. You build up an ecosystem around something where maybe not the primary liquidity provider, but if you can own like a big chunk of the supply, the liquidity, that's a big passive yield income idea for the future. So anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.